Just wanted to talk to you briefly about what we set out to find out. So that was our original research question. Can 5G deliver a compelling step change in tourism interpretation of their destination? And that notion of digital interpretation is really interesting for 5G because it's how we navigate the landscape, especially when we've got concerns about conservation as well as economic and social development, which sometimes look as if they're at odds with each other. So we have this beautiful graphic here which shows, if you like, the emerging innovation ecosystem around what we've been trying to do. So in the far corner you've got a representation at the top of the app, so that's the invisible mobile phone that represents the content. In the cloud you've got the content, and then you've got organisations like the North Pennines area of national beauty, which are concerned with preservation issues. And then we also have organisations such as Nenthead, and we have Peter Jackson here, who is on a panel presenting to us first, around the Conservation Society for Mines. And then just below that we've got, if you like, the tourism experience. So we're trying to get rich experience that safely navigate beautiful landscapes and make people aware of the care we need to give to these landscapes, and at the same time using these tourism experience to get people to stay longer, spend more, and have a great experience in place. And that can be visitors and residents as well. So I'm going to pass over to Peter Jackson, who's going to speak to us more.
Just a quick word about what I am. I'm in the tourism business. I'm a chair of a charity, a CIO, which looks after a site which is a scheduled ancient monument, national importance, perhaps, worldwide importance. It's within a UNESCO geopark, so we have some geological heritage of worldwide significance, and we also have a triple SI within our site as well. We're a totally voluntary organisation, totally bonkers you might say. We don't have any paid staff. Our very existence depends upon our visitors who donate for the privilege of coming to the site, and we take them down a mine which is subject to all standard mining legislation. So we've got a sort of professional technical overhead, you might say, to running the site, and it's obviously very much in our interest to get people there, and once they're there, to keep them interested. So anything that develops their attraction to the site is very welcome on our part. I live in a rural area. We all know about the difficulties of connectivity in rural areas. I'm not going to repeat all that. Our customers are urban, and they are used to being on Twitter instantly and Facebook and so on. So they arrive on our site and they may be very, very interested, but they are disappointed if they cannot do their usual stuff on their phone, to put it crudely. So this is where we live. Okay, it only happens maybe a week in the year, something like that. And some years it doesn't happen. Sometimes our connectivity is by Chinook, for example. So, that's the great difficulty. We already had that, and I don't think there's any point in me going through it. But our customers have to be tempted to come in the first place, knowing that this sort of thing goes on. And once they get here, then they need to connect. So is there line of sight? Are there any trees? Have we got triple stone wall buildings through which signals cannot go through, and so on and so on. These are all problems that we face every day as a customer with us. And what we're after is this. This is what happens when we get a customer here, particularly children. We take them underground, down a mine, and we role play old mining techniques, for example, and we talk about that. And it's great. It goes down a bomb, We're on 5 stars on TripAdvisor, nearly, for example. So that's great. But okay, so they've come here, they've had the tea and coffee, they've gone down the mine, they think it's fantastic, and they are then bored. What do we do with them? So what the 5G pilot has delivered for us is the ability to point our customers at apps, which we've already aired that, and so there's going to be some more detail about those. And so those apps do develop that wider customer experience once they've got here. So that's great, information about particular buildings, for example, on our historic site, information about how the people live there, and that's one of the other apps delivers that for us. That's great. The other spin-off we've got is we couldn't afford broadband as a voluntary organisation, so accidentally we've got broadband. which, amongst other things, allows us to do office work on site instead of at home, and all the sort of sharing problems that overcomes if we're all working on computers, different places. Okay, we may have broadband at home, but we haven't got all our information and our legal store, if you like, in one place until this happened. The other thing it's delivered for us is the ability to take electronic payments from customers. So we're a good old-fashioned cash business. Great stuff. Which means somebody has to go to a bank occasionally and pay a load of cash in and store it in their house and count it and all the rest of it. And guess what? As we well know, banks are disappearing in rural areas and so on and so on. So if we can take card payments, that eases that problem for us. Plus, we can actually get more money out of customers, because if you sort of talk to them nicely and they've got the card in their hand and they tap it on their phone, which is connected to the 5G project, guess what? They actually give us more. So that's good as well. So yes, in my opinion, the project, in the way it's set up at Nenthead in Alston, is very much delivering that extra, better experience for the customers, so it's better tourism. From my point of view as an archaeology, a geology and a conservation geek, if you like, is that money then brings into the site more cash for us to spend on looking after the site, which is, as we said, a national asset. So it only happens because of the partners who are delivering other projects, so I think hand over to one of those now.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to let us present our work which we've done over the last 17 odd months. And before I proceed further, I've got two questions for you, because I think people are getting a bit tired here for some reason. So I'll make it a bit interactive. So first question, do you sometimes feel the need to find an ATM, a pharmacy, a restaurant, or a cafe, or a museum, or park when you're traveling, just by raise of hand? It's a lot of people here, except a few. Do you sometimes struggle to orient yourself, because on a map, you sometimes don't know where north or south is, and you figure out a place, and you walk there, and you figure out, oh no, I had to go there, that was the right direction. Do you face that problem? Just show me by the raise of hand. Okay. Then you'll love what I'm going to talk about, because the world around me solves those two problems. It's an app that's available on the App Store and Google Play Store worldwide in 26 languages. Helps people find all kinds of services nearby using the phone camera. It's like a signpost in your pocket, a signpost for anything: restaurants, cafes, ATMs, pharmacies, museums, parks. And we've been building this and working on it since about 6.5 years. Our office is just less than 1 minute from this spot. So I just literally just walked up here this morning. The app has got over 150 million business listings, and tourists are using it worldwide for searching for all kinds of services. It was one of the best apps on Google Play for 2017. It won the Google Play Award amongst 4.6 million apps globally. It was also one of the best apps on Huawei's App Gallery in 2018. That was during the project, actually. We got that. So that's a bit about the product. You can download it right now. It's a free application, and you can use it in Lancaster to search for anything. Literally anything. You can type in Chinese food, and it'll show you places around you. And here's a user in Lancaster searching for nearby restaurants. And this is in Lancaster Town Center. The user taps on one of the restaurants. You find more information, opening hours, reviews. You can open their website, call them, and get more information. So that's the app. I would encourage you to download it, because when, this is what our customers are saying. They say it's the best app ever. Best travel app, best augmented reality app, which is why Daniel got interested in talking to us in the first place. They were looking for an augmented reality use case. And people say it's faster than Google Maps and also better than Googling. And that, for a small company in Lancaster, is quite a big thing. And some people just enjoy this way of searching on the camera because it's very intuitive. It's sort of extending the signpost on the road into your hand. And human beings, actually, maps were not designed for human beings. I would sort of put it that way. You know, signposts are better off. So enough of the product. We got chatting with Daniel about 20 months ago or so, and we were discussing that this 5G testbed is going to come to the North Pennines, and we were working in the tourism sector, catering to tourists worldwide with some of the awards. And we were also interested and working with some tourism boards at that stage, one in Italy. And the question that Daniel presented was, can we benefit from 5G in this region to improve the visitor experience with World Around Me? So we ideated and came up with the idea that let's promote local heritage through World Around Me app, which it doesn't have at other places. And let's do that with audio and video storytelling. The video specifically being heavy on the 5G network. And that was the idea which we conceived back then. And so right now, if you have the app and you go to the region, you will see a new section in the app called Discover North Pennines, with 2 new search categories called Heritage and Events. And you'll be able to find nearby events that are happening in the region. You'll be able to search for nearby heritage places on the camera, just like I showed you earlier. And as you see various heritage locations here, there's a user pointing the camera actually at the Nenthead mines, and a list of various heritage locations in that direction. And by tapping on one of those billboards, the blue signs, you can listen to an audio guide or watch a video, and that's Peter Jackson over there on the video, and that's Peter Jackson sitting here. So we were working with the North Pennines Tourism Partnership, curators from there who had actually reached out to Peter and asked, can he help us with curating some heritage content in audio and video format, and they had to interview him. So there are loads of audios in Peter's voice, and if you are in the North Pennines, you can also see his videos. But the main proposition there for the tourists is that they can be anywhere in the region, and they can learn about what's the heritage location nearby, a little milestone, or different parts of the Nenthead mines, or spots on the Isaac Street Trail in the Nine Banks village. And a visitor anywhere in the region will learn about it and would be motivated to go there and I guess, buy a ticket if it's there or give a donation, like Peter suggested early on. And this is working, by the way. So if you have the app, if you've not only downloaded it, please do it, because when you go there, you can engage with this content using some of the infrastructure we provided. So why 5G and how to use it? We were essentially trying to solve the last mile problem there. There are some regions where there is no phone signal. So people go there to get away from the busy city life, and there are some spots, specifically one in the Nine Banks village. It's a youth hostel, the Nine Banks Youth Hostel it's called. And there's no network at all. So we restarted them and said, you know what, we'll bring this 5G enabled Wi-Fi connection to your place. You're getting so many tourists throughout the year. And we are curating this amazing heritage content in partnership with the local tourism board. We will provide you with the ability to give to the tourists the ability to download the app, learn about the local heritage by just letting them connecting to this 5G enabled Wi-Fi. That is one of the things we sort of started as an idea about a year ago, and now it's operational, it's working. Tourists are actually downloading WAM over that 5G powered infrastructure thanks to all the other partners out here. And they're able to use WAM specifically in the area where there is no phone signal at all. So that was for us a bit of an achievement. The augmented reality use case around orientation is what we focused on. That's what World Around Me WAM is all about. So when you're at the region, you can get to know where the Isaac Street Trail is, and you can find more information, walk towards it, and so on. We also help promote local events in partnership with the Alston, some of the business community there, and people who promote local events. Again, they are being promoted through World Around Me app. We also did workshops with some of the local businesses in Alston who were really excited that they could actually promote their services through the app as well in a manner which is rightly communicated to the tourists. So they could correct opening hours, they could put the right location, they could edit information about their business. And these are small workshops, we did with very enthusiastic local businesses, B&Bs, grocery stores and cafes in the village. And they were quite excited that they could actually make these changes quite easily. And some of them were not technology savvy, many of them. So they were usually sort of a father running a B&B, bringing his daughter who's more tech savvy, and she was learning how they could use it. But that was an experience, and they could see benefits that tourists would find their services quite easily. And third, the main thing about heritage storytelling, There is so much to learn about that place. It's rich in history, rich with a lot of geological and coal mining history. And there's so many stories to be told. And also regions, they compete with each other in the way they tell stories to tourists. I mean, you look at yourself, you guys, when you travel, you have a good experience at a place, something memorable. You'll tell your family, you'll tell your friends, they would go back there again. So the idea with heritage storytelling was exactly that. Communicate emotionally with the end user, with the tourist, make their experience memorable. So they would know more about it and tell stories to their family and friends and come back. And 5G helped us do that, the video storytelling and all the infrastructure that went in. And VAM altogether is if you've already downloaded the app, you probably know what I'm talking about, but it helps you find all kinds of services and events as well. And each service is actually provided by a local business in the area. So an intent of a user to search for something is an intent of a user to spend money in the local region. And that money could also go towards a paid event, a donation at a heritage place, or just for or basically any other services they want to consume over there. So we, when we started the project, we set some KPIs around user adoption, around number of searches in the region, the engagement for various heritage content. And I think we've done that pretty well, and we've had the benefit to work with a local rural tourism board, work with rural tourists, see their adoption, and I think all in all it's been great.
My name's Katherine Pearson. I am the Managing Director of Flo-Culture, and we are an arts organisation that specialises in audience development, and we're a software company. So what does that mean? It means that we do reports for people, we do research, we write audience engagement plans, and we make software products that they can use to support their engagement activities. We got involved in this because we do this work quite a lot across the country. Some of our main partners are people like the National Parks and National Trust, and so we've kind of got a reputation for working in heritage and tourism sectors and outside in hills and things. So we're invited to get involved in two digital interpretation projects, and the two main results of those two projects were the publication of the two apps you can see there. Now, I'm not going to talk in great detail about these apps. I am here today, so you can come and chat to me about any of these things. But I do want to highlight a couple of issues in each of them. The most significant part of this app, apart from the fact it's fantastic, is the fact that actually it was developed in collaboration with Alston Moor Federation School, with a group of year 5s and 6s, and for anybody who's not got kids that age, me included, they're a bunch of 10 and 11-year-olds. And we worked with them and their amazing teacher, Mr. Fletcher, to really go through the whole business of how you think about, how you build, and how you publish an app. So they were actively involved in scoping the specification. They worked with different members of my team on the design parts. They came up with the most tricky technical challenges so that it made our development team weep, which I thought was quite a good thing myself, keeps them on their toes. And all in all, it was absolutely fascinating and brilliant. And not only did it get them involved, really involved in a deep way about how you go about this kind of process of technology, which had lots of learning outcomes around, what types of jobs people do, what are the opportunities for them as young people in this new technological kind of environment. But it also gave us roots into the wider community. We gave them homework, and they had to go and ask their grandparents questions. They had to go and find stories. And through that process, it gave us a way into that local community, which was very, very important. The second project was technically much more tricky, because as we've all been hearing, as I was saying to Daniel, the clue is in the title. This is a test bed. Yeah? It's heavy work sometimes. And it doesn't look like it there, yeah? It looks like just lots of fun, which of course it was as well. And so this project was very much about looking at how we can deliver augmented reality experience where we're delivering quite a lot of content. One of the drivers for people, and Peter mentioned earlier, is, there's an expectation of people that you can go on your phone and you can look at Netflix and you can get a lot of really brilliant content on your phone. So what we were looking at is like, okay, how can we produce some really big content and make it possible for people to access it easily on 3 sites in the area. So the films that we produced, we worked with a film company to squash them as small as we can make them. They don't go that small. And also get an AR framework that would allow us to deliver them easily and quickly. I have got sort of pretend trigger images in there, so if you're interested you can come and hear some stories. But as Peter mentioned, we've got one up at Peter's place, and if you point your phone at a strategic stone wall, of which there are many, but there's one that you have to use, the grumpy miner appears in front of you, almost full height, telling you all his fairly gruesome and grumpy stories, I have to admit. There's lots we can say about this. You've heard lots of things from other people today. I'm happy to share more. I suppose if anybody's thinking about doing one of these projects or anything simple, it's not simple, anything similar, there's kind of 3 things. There's 100, but there's 3 things that I would prioritise and say that we've all learned to do. The first ones, they're not unusual. The first one, I'm sure you do every day. And all I'm saying is remember to do it. Because things don't ever go smoothly in a project like this. Multi-partner, multi-agency, different objectives, different agendas. And you've got to hold hands together at the beginning and jump together. And that won't stop any of the issues going away. It just means you'll have really, really good mechanisms in place so that you can act quickly and efficiently to solve them. As I said, second one is things will go wrong, absolutely. But that's what you're prepared for. That's what you should be prepared for. And so when you're thinking about, what happens when it goes wrong, be enthusiastic that you have plans in place. It's not a failure if you can act positively. And the final thing, which I think is so incredibly important, please invest time and money in finding really interesting ways to involve the local people you're working with in meaningful ways. Not just a presentation in a town hall. Doesn't wash. But also it doesn't allow you to gain the benefit that they can bring. Now, we had the joy of working with all these incredibly brilliant young people, and indeed some of their families. Find ways to make that happen and you will reap the benefits. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I just want to pick up on 2 things which I think are really important. The connection of lots of small businesses in place really makes a difference to economic development, makes a difference to our experience as visitors, as tourists, and as people in places, people who live in those communities. And the other thing that's really striking to me is that building with the community. We're not innovating and imposing things on the community, we're innovating with communities. We have to do that if we're going to make those markets work in those places. So I want to say a huge thank you very much for the fantastic presentations.